Nathan Kim says, when does it start? Mr. Benitez is late. Yeah, I was. Sorry about that. Too Far says, you promise? What? Too Far says, it's for fashion. Yeah, to have mod, yeah, it is the fancy blue name. I mean, mainly, I think it's to support me, but you get the name in slow mode bypass. Bird Beast says hi. Hello, Bird. Nathan says, I feel like I've been waiting a century for me to start the stream. Sorry about that. The Ass Clown says, salutations, Don. Hello, the Ass Clown. Soranio says, greetings, Don. East Coast represent. You're from the East Coast. Hello. Aiden says, Don, how do I get my stepdad to stop touching me? I mean, if that's a real problem, you might want to go to the authorities about that. Tell or ask me anything in the chat. Nathan says, thanks for coming, Mr. Benitez. You're welcome. Too Far says, you've only been doing this for less than 2 weeks? No, I've been doing this since September 2nd. That was my first live stream. I privated a lot of my live streams. The Ass Clown says, I suggest no moderators, it will ruin chat. When I give people moderator, it's so they can type without slow mode. If I see that my moderators are deleting comments or banning people, I'll remove them as moderator. Seranio says, you need to look up Benjamin Bratt from Blood In, Blood Out. That's your doppelganger. I probably won't remember to do that, but maybe I will. Tactic says, I love you, Mr. Benitez. Okay. Zoe says, truth or dare? Truth. Aiden says, can you unprivate them? I can, but I don't want to. Hadar says hi. Hello, Hadar. Shadow says, when did you start this live stream? Like 5 minutes ago. Bella says hi. Hello, Bella. Cat says hi. Hi, Cat. GP says, are you Latino? I mean, that's what I think I am. Kurt says, how are you tonight? Good, thank you. Nathan says, why did you private them? Because they were not good. Like, unentertaining. Basra says, do you drink alcohol or smoke weed? I keep that private. Nature says, no Coca-Cola tonight. That's not true. I have some right here. Olivia says, are you a vampire? You're saying I look like a vampire? Okay. Mob says, should I bet my house on the next game? No, don't do that. That's a bad, unwise decision. Dak says, hello. Hello, Dak. SVD says, Coca-Cola. CEO says, why is one of your eyes big and the other small? I mean, in reality, my eyes are the same size. It's just that, like, my skin, like, covers, like, more eye than the other because of genetics. Nathan says, Mr. Benitez loves Big Macs and Coca-Cola. Yeah, I do. I'm an American. T-Junk says, happy early Thanksgiving. I'm looking forward to stuffing my hole with all types of fall squash varieties and gourds. Corn too. Okay. Joshin says, what's your favorite beer? I don't drink. Noah says, what time is it? It is around midnight. Diego says, can you say happy birthday to my cousin Phil McCracken? Well, I said the silly name right there, so there you go. Nathan says, please don't say me. Benitez is a vampire anymore. What? King says, what's the point of the stream? There's no meaningful point to this stream. Paul says, say Christ is Lord. There you go. I mean, I didn't mean it, but I said it. Scott says, do you smoke weed? Maybe. Joel says, do you stay in Texas? Maybe. Kangaroo says, how is the weather in America? I mean, recently it hasn't been notable, like just boring, normal. Mr. Wayne says, why people are afraid of Three Eye Atlas? Maybe because of all of the alien movies we've watched. Kieran says, what are we talking about? Right now, your comment. Lynn says, what is your religion? I'm not religious. Jamie says, uncle, go to sleep, there's church tomorrow. Oh yeah, tomorrow's Sunday. I don't go to church though. TX says, ceiling fan on in November. Not Texas, New Mexico. Maybe. Crystal says, come with me to take my dog, just in case. Are you offering me your dog? I don't want your dog. Nick says he can't answer every comment, obviously. Zilla says, free Palestine. Okay. Timothy says, we fear what we don't know. So why don't we just learn more? I'm not sure it's that simple. Cordy says, are you angry? No. Trap says, channel's taking off, bro. You're saying my YouTube channel is doing well? Thank you. Jamie says, blink twice if you need help. I'm fine. Lil says, I do PG-13 things with jars of mayonnaise. Yeah, I remember you saying that. Tone says, are you afraid of the light? Are you like making a comment of like how dark it is? I guess I just like it dark. Zifa says, are you an incel? I mean, I don't think so. Saxon says, why am I watching this? Maybe because you're lonely. Thick says, if a magic 8-ball had a voice, I think it would sound exactly like this. Thank you. Danny says, what's the black shadow behind you? Me. Uncle says, Isaac D. Snux is my mentor. I don't know who that is. Franklin says, I'm 6'7". That's your height? I mean, I don't think that's your height. I think he just wanted to say those numbers. Andrea says, thick burritos. Funniest thing I heard today. You think those two words, thick burritos, are funny? Okay. Chad says, I subscribed. I love the style. It's conceptual. Okay. Santino says, do you not have a personality or know how to be entertaining, so you just read chat aloud? I mean, that what you said might be true. Carl says, I put my cat outside. He wouldn't stop pissing on my shit. You defecate outside. And your cat was urinating on your defecation. Okay. Brit says, you have the perfect face and hair for an Italian mob movie. Look into it. I'm not going to look into it, but thanks for your comment. Tone says, what do you think of the world you live in? Nothing. I just live in it. Redacted says, WTF did I just walk in on? A young adult reading strangers' comments. Too Far says, this is modern art. This is modern art? Yeah, it is. Malachi says, read this. You're awesome. Thank you. Timothy says, Socrates once said, the only thing I know is that I know nothing. How would he know? Yeah, I guess that doesn't make sense in a way, but I think it's a cool quote anyways. Lynn says, do you eat grass? No, that wouldn't taste good at all. Com says, can I get a shout out? No. Flexico says, I'd pay to have you read my bedtime story. Okay. Point says, I'd like to offer you a job where you will make $100 per minute for 17 years. What kind of job is that? Too Far says, what are those clicks and taps you're doing? Don't worry about it. Zod says, you fuck with Vietnamese gooch? I mean, if you're asking, do I fuck with everyone. X says, when is the last time you had friends? I have friends this moment. Noise says, does that t-shirt prevent oxygen flow? No, I can breathe just fine. Luna says, why y'all acting so weird? Why are you being rude? I mean, I don't mind rude questions. I think it can make things interesting. Robert says, what's your opinion on the rise of testicular injury in women's sports? I don't have an opinion on that. Shredness says, you look ill, something is wrong with your eyes. Maybe. Yeah, maybe. I should get my eyes checked. Matt says he's highlighting the chat he's going to read out loud. It scrolls up too fast. I kind of do that. Too Far says, who's in that corner? Who are you looking at? When I look over there, I mean, I'm just moving my head to think, like, you know, kind of like fidgeting, I guess. Point says, have you sipped a bowl of hot soup on a brisk winter's eve? No. That Ninja says, I ate a sandwich while pooping. You ate something while you're on the toilet? That seems pretty gross. Amy says, what nationality are you? I'm American. Cumhan says, humiliation ritual continues. Yeah, it does. DSP Gaming says, hey, it's that weird lesbian again. How was your day, ma'am? Good, thank you. It's especially good because I didn't accidentally, like, live stream myself masturbating. Like, I'm happy that I didn't accidentally do that. Jake says, thank you for looking into the camera while answering, responding. Yeah, I like doing it this way. Ryan says, it's you again? It is. Louis says, what word is spelled incorrectly in every single dictionary? I don't know. Indian says, what's going on? I'm reading your comments. That ninja says Fent. Okay. Daniel says, that's what she said. I don't know what you're referring to. Maybe it was funny though. Nate says, he puts the tone in monotone. Okay. Barry says, can you buy Pokemon cards and become a Pokemon card streamer? No, I think that's pretty lame. Paul says incorrectly is spelled incorrectly. Oh, I get it now. Funny. Too Far says, I'm not happy that you didn't accidentally start a live stream doing that. I mean, I'm happy about not doing that. That would be an actual humiliation ritual. Andrew says, when you say okay, does that mean you don't care? That means that I don't have any comments to make about it. I mean, when I read a message, I could force myself to, like, say some dumb, witty thing, but if I have no comment, I'm just gonna say okay. Jess says hi. Hello, Jess. Amy says, do you want to hear a joke about a pencil if it's short? Uncle says, is 5.5 inches normal? I think that's average, maybe a little below. Anonymous says, you are getting me through some tough days. I'm glad. King says, I know 25 letters of the alphabet, but don't know W. I don't get it. Daniel says, do you have an avatar? An avatar? What does that mean? Do I have a profile picture on YouTube? Yeah. Flaw says, is bro AI? I feel similar to it. Like, I understand how I can, like, resemble it. Robert says, Springboks beat the French last night? Is that a sports thing? Think says, man, a machine? Okay. Andrew says, you remind me of the 20 letters of the alphabet. It's 26. Cumhan says he's asking if you are a furry. Someone was asking earlier if I was a furry, and I didn't understand the question. Well, I'm not a furry. Red Arrow says 5.1 to 5.5 inches is average. It is? Okay. Lillian says, that's low-key rough if you feel similar to AI. Hopefully you're more complex. I mean, like, when I do the live stream, I feel similar to AI, not like my whole life. Thought says, zesty Guatemalan gets humiliated POV. I'm a zesty Guatemalan getting humiliated? Okay. The Ass Clown says, Don, what's the difference between the real Jesus and a picture of Jesus? It only takes one nail to hold up a picture. Dark. Paul says, have you heard of the movie Portrait of Dorian Gray? You have that vibe? I haven't watched it. Vivid says, America first. Okay. Lil says, do you like the gays? Sure. MP says, you look like the type of guy to have chronic eye infections. Maybe I am. I hope that's not the case. I'm Straight says, would you rather piss backwards or poop inward? Piss backwards. Van says, did you ever see a ghost? No. Crystal says, this is survival of the fittest. Are you, like, referencing the chaos of the chat? Synth says, you're equally close to the camera as last night's stream. Sorry about that. Mark says, it's low tide in Tuna Town. Okay. Matt says, if not, then equals to ipconfig all. Okay. Melia says day 3 of trying to get Don Benitez attention. I don't believe it's been day 3 of you doing that. Anonymous says, you have to watch Please Don't Destroy The Treasure of Foggy Mountain. Okay, maybe. Thank you for the suggestion. Will says ASL type of shit. It's the year of 2000. What? Are you asking my age, sex, and location? Tony says, do you know that there's no afterlife, or do you know there is? I mean, I think it's unknowable. Thomas says, is your dad bald? Maybe. That ninja says sandwich location. What? Mark says Obama, Americans' greatest power bottom president ever. Obama is a power bottom? Okay. Anonymous says, I think there is an afterlife. Okay. Crystal says, okay. Magic says, you're right about the Red Dead 2 dynamic theme. Yeah, I like that song. Like the song that was made or like is used for the PS4's like background like theme thing. Catherine says, do bears know we have right to their arms? I think you're a little confused. Ryan says, would you rather write the longest word, which has 189,000 letters, or date 10 celebrities? Date 10 celebrities. Dre says mashed potato. Not a fan. Thought says shirt with a jock strap is crazy. I have a jock strap? I don't. Thug says same clothes every day. Why do I have like the same kind of appearance every day? I just get attached to like a look and I don't want to abandon it. Like if I do a different outfit, I'm like, I wish I was in my favorite outfit, so I just wear the same thing. Too Far says, would you rather get too close or go too far? I mean, in terms of the camera, too close. Max says, hi Don, thoughts and fruits? Not good. Ryan says, would you rather hang out with Donald Trump for one day or Elon Musk? I mean, probably Trump because he's the president, like more influential. Barry says, do you wipe front to back or back to front? I don't know. I don't think about it. Thick says, do you think comic book movies are oversaturated? Yeah, I think everyone does, but you know, I kind of still like them, even though they're kind of bad. Devin M says, Don Benitez, I have an important message for you. Meet me at the town square 3:14 sharp tomorrow. Very important. Can't relay the message over the internet. I'm not meeting up with you. Sorry. Synth says, do you wear contacts? Yeah. Wade says, can you please set up a PayPal so I can be mod? Yeah, I mean, maybe, no promises, but I should be getting super chats soon, like this month. Tony says, is someone proved with simple breakdown afterlife is real? How much would you pay to see the answer? I think that's like a weird, like nonsensical question. Ray says blue pill or red pill? Blue pill. Bazapi says you need to meet up with him in town square. It could stop Israel. No, I'm not gonna do that. Debug says, remember me, Donnie boy? Yeah, I do. Hello, Debug. That Ninja says, help me wipe. You're behind after defecating? No, I'm not gonna do that. Meow says, you are weirded. Stop doing this and get a life. Go to church. I'm gonna continue doing this. Kingbug says, bro, I have a feeling you're gonna become famous. Maybe, I don't know. Too Far says, has anyone paid the $1 to be moderator? Yes. Barbara says, Joel. Okay. Thomas says, is your dad black? Maybe. No, he's not. Saki says, you gotta sleep more than 2 hours a day. I do. Devin says, do you remember me or did you switch up on your day one? I don't really remember you. I just got Cash Apped $5 by Jen. Thank you, I appreciate it. I really do. You didn't put your username in, but thank you, I appreciate it. Ryan says, would you rather be the smartest person on Earth or get everything you want? Smartest person. Sacred Cake says, it's from me. Well, I'll put you as moderator, just don't ban anyone. Now you can type like without the slow mode. Too Far says he's rubbing his eyes because the chat makes him sad. No. Cuban says, ooh, Queefaroni boy. I don't like that name. Mike says, what if I wanted to be the smartest person? Wouldn't I get that? What? Wade says, I mentioned you in another live stream and people acknowledge you. Oh, like you were in another live stream, you commented and people were like, oh yeah, I know that guy. That's cool. Tactic says, can you answer any of my questions? Maybe. Synth says, do you like spicy food? Yes. Jawbone says, yo, actually ban me. I want to see what happens. No. Bazapi says, aren't you worried someone will pay the $1 to abuse their mod privileges? I'm able to see what moderators do. Like if a message gets deleted, I can see it. I see moderation activity. Hunter says, what's your favorite drug? Social media. Travis says 2%, you in it? What 2%? Michael says refusing to ban someone is hilarious. Yeah, I guess it is. Diogenes says, do you think you could cook 6 million pizzas in 5 years? No comment. Tora says, hey Don, I'm here. Hello, Tora. Kingbug says, that's good, you don't do drugs. Yeah, it is good. Jonathan says, Queefaroni boy. Again, I don't like that nickname. Lista says, who or hurrah boy? I think hurrah is better. Ray says, do you believe in manifestation? Not really. Green says, you seem in a good mood today. Yeah, I think so. Too Far says, I want to give you $1, but how do I know you're not going to use it on sinful acts? You don't know. Thought says, would you fight Aaron the plumber for $10,000? Yes. You reminded me, like, there's this chatter I get named Aaron, like, every day for, like, 10 days or something, he comes in here just to say, like, this sucks. Like, he's a reoccurring person. ID says, you look like a guy to take a sip and frown. Okay. Sandy says, Goon Squad is back. Goons, okay. Cody says, what's 6'7" mean? It's a meme. Milwaukee says, white boy. You're calling me a white boy? Okay. Tony says, I'm not offering to sell anything. Just wondering if there is an afterlife. How much would be the most you would pay? I guess. I mean, sure, I guess I would pay. You know what? Who cares about the afterlife? I'm just gonna focus on today, even if I don't care to learn about that. Ryan says, would you rather have teleportation or have duplication? Duplication? Duplication. Volt says, opinion on Nick Fuentes. I don't watch him. I'm not a groper. Sredna says he needs medication for his eye strain. Maybe. Bucket says, I have returned once more. Hello, Bucket. Lynn says, are you LGBTQ? Well, I'm straight, so I guess not. Sacred says, I didn't want to do anything or moderate. Thank you for being here. You are important. Keep going. Thank you, Sacred. Radiant says, damn, I would have put you through college. Okay. Game says, what is your channel? Just streaming like this. Cumhan says, when did you start streaming? September 2nd of this year. Mallory says, how's your night going? Good. I've been enjoying this stream. Gorilla says, Bingus. Okay. Skanker says, bro, it's been 24 hours, and I feel like I'm having deja vu seeing you again here, wearing the same exact thing. Yeah, my streams are very similar. Like, they're the same topic, same location, same outfit. I see why you get deja vu. Glitter says, what's your opinion on LGBTQ+? I'm happy for them. Ronaldo says, no, Draco Man says, Ronaldo or Messi? Messi. Thought says, awesome stream, keep it up. Thank you, Thoughts. Chris says, Hail Hydra. Hail that fictional, like, superhero cult thing. Okay. Someone says, do you sleep upside down from the ceiling? No, I'm not a bat. Mag says, what are your thoughts on the great meme reset? I mean, I'm not too much into memes nowadays, so I don't really care that much, but if it ends up happening, that'll be cool. Oh god. I have a bunch of Cash Apps. Cat, thank you for the $1. I appreciate it. Comment. Devin donated $5. Cash App. Meet me at the town square tomorrow. I'm not gonna do that, sorry. Devin. Add as moderator. Standard. Okay, don't ban people or delete messages. Too Far says, I sent a special note. You Cash at me. Catherine says, that's me. Okay, there you go. I found you. Add moderator, standard. Okay. Thick says, ever drink Bailey's from a shoe? No. And there was another Cash App. Callie. $10. Thank you. I really appreciate it, Callie. Callie, type if you want moderator. Jonathan says, I am the moderator. You're not a moderator. Bob says, why do you look like a gremlin? And Bruno Mars, genetics. Too Far says, did you see it? Did you? 1 second. Rich, I got a Cash App. It says, this is for your LGBTQ pass. Don't abuse it or go. What do I do with an LGBTQ pass? Gabe Benitez says Dr. Pepper or root beer. Dr. Pepper. But the person that gave me my LGBTQ pass via Cash App, I really appreciate the $2. James says, you high too? I'm not high. Callie, yes, please mod me. Okay. Thought says, I block all the mods, like you ignore them? You don't, so you don't see their chats? Okay. Rajat says, hi Don B. Hello, Rajat. Lacey says, say 6-7 and I'll sub. I'm not gonna do the gesture. Radiant says, do you want to feel it? Feel what? But again, I appreciate you, Callie, and Devin, and Catherine. Whoever gave me the LGBTQ pass, you didn't put your username in the note thing, so I'm not sure who. Jonathan says, we need to see you 6-7. I'm not gonna do the gesture. Lynn says, Jesus saves. I don't believe in Jesus, but thank you. Dean says, feel Bofa. What's Bofa? G says, what made you start reading comments on a live stream? I saw someone else doing it. His name's Matthew. He does these vertical live streams as well. Synth says, when do you start listening to Christmas music? I don't voluntarily listen to Christmas music. The only way I listen to it is like when I'm walking around stores. TJ says hi. Hello, TJ. Swaggy says, you don't believe Jesus existed? I mean, I don't really care if Jesus existed. I do appreciate, like, the Sermon on the Mount, though. I enjoyed reading that. Ava says, shh, he's coming? What? Jack says, hey, Don, how you doing, you cold man? I'm doing good, thank you. Callie says, heart emoji. Thanks again for the 10. Rhodey says, Jesus loves you, man, you heathen. I appreciate you spreading your message, but I just don't believe in it. Lillian says, I'm gonna give this idea a shot. Let's see how it goes. Oh, are you saying you're gonna live stream like me and do this as well? I'd be curious to see that. Frog says, remove slow mode chat. No. The Ask Clown says, why would they want to be mod, just to slow down chat or to turn it off occasionally? No. You know how you can only type every 60 seconds? Mods can type as much as they want. They can spam the chat if they wanted to. K-Man says, remember me? I don't. Kurt says, the Bible is the greatest work of fiction ever written. Yes. 9F says, you have great earlobes. Thank you. Devin says, bro, I myself am a Christian, but the unbelievable hypocrisy in Jesus loves you, heathen, is crazy, bro. Yeah, that does seem kind of, that doesn't make sense. Bad Man says, what is your race? I mean, I think of myself as Latino and Hispanic. Sacred says, favorite movie? Eyes Wide Shut. Callie says, donate to the Cash App chat. Only if you want to. Unsalted says, can people shut up about religion for like 5 seconds? I mean, I understand it. Like, I mean, if I thought that unbelievers were gonna go to hell for eternity, I would like try to be spreading the message. I understand it. Cloud says, do you play Warframe? I used to. Debbie says, please believe in Jesus. Just pray for me, I guess, even though I don't believe in that. Robert says, why don't you speak your language of origin? I don't know. Neil says, if you could be anywhere right now, I mean, I'd like to see the Apollo statue in Vatican City. Like, that's what I would like to see. Oh, Too Far says the Cash App note that ends in Too Far is mine. I didn't see that. I'm sorry. Okay, now you're moderator. Rebecca says hi. Hello, Rebecca. Sacred says, good night, Don. Wishing you well. Good night, Sacred, and thanks again for the donation. Frank says, should I put on my mankini? Sure, that's not my style, though. Paral says, you're right, eye is red. Yeah, it is. I hope it's okay. Big says, lights are on, but no one's home. Are you saying, like, I'm crazy or dumb? Devin says, my collar's blue, but my neck is red. Okay. Hi says, go to sleep. Not right now. King says, dude's on his way to Sandy Hook. No, I don't plan on committing violence. That's horrible. Magic says, have you seen Gone with the Wind? I haven't. Cat says, night, guys. Good night, Cat. Someone says, why do you read comments? Because it's fun. You never know what's gonna be next. Too Far says, what's your favorite type of cheese? I guess American. No Pookie says, you need 2 ring lights? Yeah, maybe. I was thinking about that. I might do that. Bree says hi. Hello, Bree. I know you, Bree, are like a follower of the guy that inspired me to do this, Matthew. Eddie says, do you have a favorite philosopher? I mean, the dude that I've read the most of his work is Schopenhauer. Devin says, down with Israel, Don Benitez, 2025. That's a false quote. I did not say that. Bat says, what's your favorite food in general? The Big Mac. Chloe says, hi, can you sing a song for me? No. Jay says, so you're not a cheese connoisseur? You're saying I'm not a cheese connoisseur? You're guessing that because my favorite cheese is American? Yeah, you would be right. I'm not too much into food in general, to be honest. Faded says, how many Fast and Furious movies have you seen? 1. Rich says, mods. Yeah, I ban anything that I find offensive now. Just kidding. PE says, milkshake or smoothie? Smoothie. Nate says, do you like mud flaps? I don't know what that is. Pal says, what is your favorite genre of music? Rock. Rajat says, will you turn 19 this year? I mean, I don't say my age. Ray says, how old are you? As I said. Furry says, favorite anime? Probably Spirited Away or Princess Mononoke. I haven't watched any of the anime shows like Dragon Ball or One Piece. I haven't ventured into that. 9F says, do you ever ride your bike down railroad tracks without a seat? No, what does that mean? Bree says, yeah, I recently discovered Matt and then yours. I enjoy both of your streams. Okay. Daniel says, Immanuel Kant was a philosopher, sort of a precursor to psychology. Okay, I haven't heard of him. Maybe I'll look into him. PE says, mods, what slurs should I say? Okay. Axel says, you look like Elvis Presley. Okay. Debug says, can you play some music in the background next stream? Yeah, I'm not too sure what music to play though. I'm like stuck on that. I don't want it to be distracting. It has to be public domain. Jay-Z says, bro, hi, do you remember me? Yeah, you like Radiohead? Devin says, keep talking, I'm almost finished. I'll keep talking, but not because of that. Arctic says, should I go to sleep now? It's about midnight where I'm at. Yeah, you should. Leave the stream, go to bed. Lillian says, just found out you need 50 subs to live stream, and that's low-key a little sad. I guess I'll work on that. Yeah, I dislike that barrier. Expect says, ha 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 ha. Okay. Crazy said, I had tacos tonight, so good. I'm happy for you. Maligator says, bro, you need to plan. Just reading chat is going to create a feedback loop. A feedback loop? Are you just saying that this will get stale over time? I mean, anyone can type in anything, so I think it doesn't get too stale. Too Far says, did you put up QR codes around town to get your sub count up? No. I get most of my subs from streaming. Trab says, could you recommend a good restaurant? I mean, what I eat is McDonald's. Synth says, alright, well, catch you on the flip side. Bye, Synth. Callie says, good night, Don. Mods and chat, have a great stream. Good night, Callie. Devin says, Black Rose just asked why you're black, and I think that's really racist. Permission to ban / they them. No, don't ban them. James says, you look like a serial killer. Okay. Chris says, why are your teeth so yellow at a young age? I had way too much unhealthy food, I guess. Shellshock says, some mods are sneaky and hide people from chats for no reason. Keep an eye on yours, Don. I mean, I can see, like, if they delete messages, it's gonna be fine. Randy says, you have a good thing going now. Moderators are gonna ruin your chat. No, they're not allowed to ban people or anything. Maligator says, teeth are supposed to be yellow. Are they? Bueno says, I'm back. Do you finally have cesium soup? No, I don't. That sounds very unhealthy to eat. Jamie says, oh, hi, man. I'm Jamie. I support this YouTuber unless he collects dead bodies. I don't do that. Crazy says, is your closet filled with grandma's 90s? What? 9F says, do you own any chickens? No. Eric says, can you get up and give us a spin? No way. Jan says, hi, Don. Hello, Jan. Hello, Jan, in your fancy font. Rajat says, Do you rate Whack-A-Mole game, bro? I don't play that. Devin says, Rich, that's it. I'm banning you. Banned. It doesn't look like you banned him. And I'm happy for that. Manatee says the One Piece is real. No, it's not. Briley says, hi, I'm Briley. Hello, Briley. Mallory says, do you have a favorite band? I like Arcade Fire. Alex says, why is Ava telling you to drop the skincare routine? I don't know why. I don't have one. My skincare routine is eating McDonald's and not drinking water. Emily says, hello, I'm Emily. How is your night going? Normal, good. Thank you, Emily. PE says, it's the preservatives. Apparently. Debug says, Dawn, will you unmod someone if they ban someone? Yes, they are just ornamental mods, basically. That Ninja says, bro got Big Mac skin? I do. Roasted says, do you play any games currently? No, but I was watching Red Dead Redemption 1 cutscenes an hour ago. Devin says, it's funny people are actually thinking I'm a moderator. The Black Rose lady got so offended when I misquoted her. Okay. 9F says, why is one foot bigger than the other? Because nobody's bodies aren't perfect. Manatee says, check out, look outside. Are you insinuating that you're outside my house? You're not. Orange says, do you steal? No. Ruben says, you just answer random questions because that's so interesting. Yeah, that's what I do. Ava says, can I become mod, please? Only if you give me money via Cash App. I'm evil. Alex says, Egypt built the Pentagon? The Pentagon in DC? I don't think so. Kingbug says, by the way, I also like Arcade Fire. They are pretty good. Yeah, they are good. Donut says, huzzah. Okay. Bree says, good night, Don. Have a good one. Good night, Bree. Roasted says, have a great stream. You're a chill dude. Thank you. Devin says, recording a Don Benitez tribute right now. That's pretty gross. Chris says, 1v1, tickle fight me, bro. No. Lindsay says, gay boners. Okay. I don't have that right now. Rajat says, do you believe Greek mythology? Like, do I believe it really happened? No way. Manatee says, it's a game on Steam. What's a game on Steam? Mark says, I love giving cabeza to mi hermanos. I don't know what that means. Pepper says, are you short? I'm 5'7", so yeah. Anonymous says, let me guess, you are in your early 20s. You're gonna change so much. I am a young adult. Birdie says, asking if he is an alcoholic is wild. I'm not an alcoholic. 420 says, WTF, I just sent a Cash App. It doesn't look like it. Robert says, do you reckon you're a Smurp gigawatt? What? Max says, rate your love for cola from 1 to 10. 9. Too Far says, you are not going to change at all. Everyone stays the same from birth to death. Totally. SP says, hi, bro. Hello, SP. Mallory says, do you have any piercings? No, not my style. Eric says, sometimes I dip my french fries in ice cream. Yeah, I heard that was a good combo. I haven't done it before. I heard it was especially popular with Wendy's, right? Anonymous says, Don is Latino Jason Bateman. Why are you saying Jason? Isn't it Patrick? Or am I missing something? Black Rose says, any femboys in chat? I do get a frequent chatter named Femboy Stormtrooper. Maybe he will come in here soon. Cowboy says, are you a fan of Jack's in the Box? Yeah, I like their jalapeno poppers. Devin says, I'm a femboy. Okay. 3D says, will you show your grandchildren these live streams? Maybe. Yeah, maybe. KKK says, my favorite serial killer is going live again. Not a serial killer. Dottie says, I hate slow mode. Okay. Shellshock says, one female mod on multiple streams did not like my comment to a fit guy. What? Cosmic says, are you skibbity? No. Mallory says, what's your McDonald's order? A Big Mac with extra cheese. That's it. Rick says, my Wi-Fi password is... Okay. .420 says, what the fuck? And I'm wearing a mankini. You're wearing, like, kind of like a bikini? Okay. That Ninja says, W femboy. You're saying W Devin because he's a femboy? Okay. Thick says, what should I name the kittens in our warehouse? How about you name one of them Dottie? Mark says, any MAGA trans femboy alpha chads in the chat? I don't know if there's any groypers in the chat. King says, thoughts on the actions of the Patriots on January 6th? No comment. Robot says, me? You're a femboy MAGA thing? Okay, I mean person. Rich says, old McDonald had a Don E-I-E-I-O. What? Devin says, smile if you like dick. I'm not smiling because of that. SP says, you watch horror movie? I've seen The Ring. I enjoyed that. Lindsay says, your thoughts on trans people? I'm happy for them. Fish says, you might not smoke, but I'm going to smoke a fat dab for you. Thank you. Jacob says, have you tried smegma before? What does that mean? No. Dottie says, I'm in love with you, Don. Let's get married. I'm good. I reject. Sorry. Crazy says, would you like to meet the president and go golfing? I mean, I guess that would be interesting. Anonymous says, what do you want to do when you grow up? Do I have a dream job? I don't. Jacqueline says, caterpillar emoji. Okay. Base says, what's the stream for? Entertainment. Too Far says, what's your favorite day of the year besides today? Thanksgiving. Bueno says, do you feel overwhelming happiness due to schizophrenia? No, I'm gratefully not schizophrenic. Melu says, smegma is dick cheese. Okay, well, I haven't eaten it or whatever that guy was asking. Ko says, what's better, cats or dogs? Dogs, but I'm biased because I've been around them a lot. Devin says, are you diagnosed or undiagnosed with autism? Undiagnosed. Bodhi says, I can hear the tap downstairs in my kitchen dripping and might call 911. Are you saying you might have a home invader? Jinping says, I just got out on parole and I'm looking to crack something. Where are you at, Sugarfoot? No, thank you. I don't want to have intercourse. Webslinga says, Dawn, what's good? Hello, Webslinga. Harat says, what's your favorite Genshin Impact character? I don't play Genshin Impact. Dola says, you have my wife in your closet? No, I don't. Omega says, my dad worked as a chef, and one time someone he worked with brought new meat. He brought a new meat, and it turns out it was dog meat, and after he found out, he cried. Well, that's something. Dottie says, I'm going on a weight loss journey. Good for you. Remy says, do you invest in stocks? I don't, but I was kind of curious about investing in Take-Two Interactive, the people behind GTA 6. Sam says, bro, you've been wearing the same clothes all week? Not the same exact, like literally clothes, but the same look, yeah. Swaggy says, do people ask if you're Asian? Yes. YouTube Freak Show says, at the YouTube Freak Show. You're self-advertising? Okay. Ethan says, $1,000 for new channel owner? No. I mean, that sounds enticing actually, but that would be kind of annoying for like all of my subscribers to have just this like random guy here. That Ninja says, I goon to femboys. Okay. Court says, remember me? I don't remember you, Court. Sorry. Mallory says, do you have any siblings? Yes. Jay-Z says, hi, Don. Do you remember me from last night's stream? Yeah, I remember you. I do. You like Radiohead. Jerry says, dude, you look like John Casterline. That YouTube Shorts guy. I look like him. Okay. Venom says, are you Dave Franco? I look like Dave Franco. Okay. Devin says, Chips Tree, stop. You're making me feel bad about myself. I'm gonna ban you now. He's just joking, Chip Tree. Matt says, have you ever tried swallowing a bag of marbles? No. No. Ava says, want to play Call of Duty with me, Don? I don't. I don't play Call of Duty. Chunkman says, are you from Ecuador? No. Russia says, hi, remember me? It's my birthday. I don't. Xander says, I ate a metal pipe. That sounds extremely unhealthy. Maybe you should go to the doctor. Chiptree says, refund Devin, refund Devin, refund Devin. No. Dola says, what was it like working with Kirsten Stewart? Terrible. PE says, pot pie or galash? Pot pie. Lynn says, I'm on 2%. Charge it then. Jacqueline says, why are these questions bad? I don't know. Ask the viewers. I'm going to end the stream.